Shalom, Mishpaka. I want to share some verses that Abba gave to me last night from the book of Yubalim, chapter 34. This has to do with Yom Kapar, or a Day of Atonement, they call it. And Yaakov and Levi and Yehuda and Yosef were in the house with Yitzhak their father, for his Ruach was sorrowful, and they could not leave him. And Benjamin was the youngest, and for this reason he remained with his father. And there came the king of Taphu, and the kings of Aresa, and the kings of Saragon, and the kings of Silo, and the kings of Gaas, and the king of Bet Horon, and the king of Manasseh, and all those who dwell in these mountains and dwell in the woods in the land of Canaan. And they announced this to Jacob, saying, Behold, the kings of the Amorim have surrounded your sons and plundered their herds. And he arose from his house, he and his 3 sons, and all the servants of his father, and his own servants, and went against them with 6,000 males who carried the sword. Yitzhak was no slouch. And he slew them in the pastures of Shechem, and pursued those who fled, and he slew them with the edge of the sword. And he slew Aresa and Taphu and Saragon and Silo and Manasseh and Gaas, and he recovered his herds. And he prevailed over them and imposed tribute on them, that they should pay him tribute, 5 fruit products of their land. And he built Robel and Tamnataris. And he returned in Shalom and made Shalom with them, and they became his servants until the day that he and his sons went down into Mitzrayim. And in the 7th year of this week, he sent Yosef to learn about the welfare of his brothers from his house to the land of Shechem, and he found them in the land of Dothan. And they dealt treacherously with him, and formed a plot against him to slay him. But changing their minds, they sold him to Ishmaeli merchants. And they brought him down into Mitzrayim, and they sold him to Potiphar, the eunuch of Pharaoh, the chief of the cooks, priest of the city of Elu. And the sons of Jacob slaughtered a 1-year-old goat, and dipped the coat of Joseph in that blood, and sent it to Jacob their father on the 10th of the 7th month. This is the 10th day of the 7th month, which is the Yom Kapar. Which were commanded to roast meat unto Yahuah anyways. And they had this scheme in their jealousy to make it seem like something treacherous happened to their brother. And he mourned all that night, for they had brought it to him in the evening, and he became feverish with mourning for his death. And he said, An evil beast has devoured Yosef. And all the members of his house mourned with him that day. And they were grieving and mourning with him all that day. And his sons and his daughters rose up to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted for his son. And on that day Bilhah heard that Yosef had perished, and she died in mourning of him. And she was living in Kafraef. And Dinah also, his daughter, died after Yosef had perished. And there came these 3 mourning upon Yashar'Al in 1 month. And they buried Bilhah over against the tomb of Rachel, and Dinah also, his daughter, they buried there. And he mourned for Yosef 1 year and did not cease, for he said, Let me go down to Sheol in mourning for my son. For this reason it is ordained for the children of Yashar'Al that they should afflict themselves on the 10th of the 7th month, on the day that the news which made him weep for Yosef came to Jacob his father, that they should make atonement for themselves thereon with a young goat on the 10th of the 7th month once a year for the chatah, or transgression, for they had grieved the affliction of their father regarding Joseph. You see, they committed a great transgression, and then they were repentant and remorseful of it. And this day has been ordained that they should grieve thereon for their transgressions, and for all their transgressions and for all their errors, so that they might cleanse themselves on that day once a year. I think a key word here is that they're grieving, lamenting over their transgression. Alright, let me show you guys a couple words really quick. So this first one is Amunah, which is our trust, our faith, basically. Amunah, firmness, fidelity, steadfastness, steadiness, faithfulness, truth. It struck me just a moment ago how similar this word is to the word they used for afflict yourselves regarding the Day of Atonement, where many people think that you should fast. Fasting for food is not the point. The point is to grieve over your chatah, your unworthiness. So this word is anah. Anah means to oppress, humble, be bowed down, to be put down, to become low. I think it's really amazing and beautiful to understand what the origins are of this feast. When the sons of Yashar'Al, in their jealousy of their brother Joseph, sold him into bondage, initially planning to unalive him, then seeing their father lamenting and grieving for a year, they became remorseful and repentant. And thus it is ordained for Yashar'Al in all their generations to lament themselves over their own transgressions in the 10th day of the 7th month. Baruk Yahuah. Shalom.